The question says, I have an older reader, middle school, high school, maybe adult, who is stuck on CVC words. So this question is describing an individual who is, let's say, 10 or older. So we're not talking about an early reader here at first or second grade. We're talking about an older kiddo who's stuck on CVC words. They are not yet blending CVC words with 80% accuracy or higher on every trial. They're not able to progress beyond that place. So I'm going to show a strategy that has been effective with my readers who are older and who are stuck in this place, for whom Orton-Gillingham has not been effective. So there's multiple things that you need to check into before considering this as an intervention. The first is verbal status. In my experience, and this is not coming from research, this is not coming from anything official, this is my experience, is that Orton-Gillingham is going to work with most readers who are generatively verbal. So students who are able to make new sentences that they've never been heard before, never been taught to say new ideas. They're able to generate new sentences, new meanings without previously being taught how to do so. This is a continuum. There are students who only say things that they've been taught to say at the very, very beginning of the spectrum, and there are students who can say most new concepts, but there are some things that their peers can say that they cannot say at the other end of the spectrum. Your student is probably going to be somewhere in between. If you are working with a student who has a limited verbal status and who most of what they say is not generated creatively by them but has been trained to them directly, this may be too challenging of an intervention for this individual, or it may not. At that level, it really depends on the person. The other thing you'll want to check into is phonological awareness. I use Heggerty. I've not been to the Orton-Gillingham phonological awareness training. I use Heggerty for my lower students. I break it down in a system similar to what I'm about to show you. But phonological awareness is another key that is often missing in our older readers who are stuck. I usually run this program concurrently with some Heggerty. And I start in the primary book for Heggerty if I'm going to do that. And I may or may not spend more than one day doing each day in the lesson. So I may be slowing that Heggerty down so that they're repeating day one of week one twice, 3 times, 4 times, depending on my learner. Similar to this, or actually I may use a program that breaks it down similar to what I'm about to show. So those are two things to look for when you're working with a student who is stuck, who's older and they're stuck on those CVC words, not able to progress beyond. Another thing that I didn't mention that I should have is working memory. Are they able to remember 3 things? If not, there are interventions to teach this working memory piece. That is not the focus of this video, but there is a simple way to teach a student to remember 3 things with a time delay. All right, so if your student is not able to remember 3 things, and a simple way to assess this is to just grab 3 things and show them to your student one by one: a pen, an eraser, a glove, whatever you've got handy sitting next to you, a mask, who knows, and then put them away behind your back for a few seconds and say, what did you see? If they can tell you all 3 things, then they are able to remember 3 things, which is what is required in a CVC word. They need to hold these 3 sounds in their mind in order to manipulate them. When I've had students who have a deficit in that area, I have run working memory programs concurrently with this program and Heggerty and had success. Again, not research, not a huge sample size, but that has been my personal professional experience. So this intervention that I'm going to show you is based on a teaching procedure called multiple exemplar teaching. It sounds like a lot more than it is. Multiple exemplar teaching would be better called multiple example teaching, because I think people know what that means. Basically, what you're going to do is, instead of handing them new words to decode every single time, which is standard teaching practice because we want to teach for generalization, we are going to teach the student the same 10 examples. We're going to teach them the same 10 examples over and over and over until they master those, and then we're going to test for generalization. The reason we're going to do that is it's going to alleviate some of that working memory and some of that cognitive strain because they're anticipating the next answer, which is what we want. So we're going to pick 10 examples of CVC words, and we're going to teach blending those words over and over until the individual is at 90% accuracy or above, independently unprompted, in 3 out of 3 consecutive trials. So I have 2 sets of exemplars that I use, 2 sets of examples. Set 1 is all nouns that are very literal, very common words that students will see every day. For my lower readers or for my students with limited verbal status, I start here. Set 2 is words that are not nouns. So some are adjectives, some are verbs, some are those lovely multiple meaning words that are everywhere, like set. Who knows what set means? It has, I think, 72 meanings. That's confusing for our struggling readers. So of course set is in there. Get, another commonly confused word. Got, run is a verb, hug is a verb. So these are a little more abstract, pushing for that generalization piece. So if I have a lower reader, a child who maybe is limited verbal, or they haven't had success with set 2, or I know that they need to start with, I know from knowing the student that they need to start at the beginning. Maybe they're a language learner. Maybe they're a very visual thinker where they're going to want to pair this with some kind of visual. I'm going to start with set 1. For my students who are less complex readers, they're just lower. They have they have a vocal status. They are not English language learners. They may have some phonological concerns or some working memory concerns, but they're not complex other than being struggling readers. At the more significant end of that spectrum, I'm going to start here. You cannot hurt your student by starting them lower than they need to be. Just know that once they've mastered set 1, you need to move on to set 2. And then you need to move on to generalization. So it is an additional step. What you're going to do is you're going to just print this out. I'm going to upload this to Teachers Pay Teachers. It is free. Everything in my shop is free. These print out into index card size. So if you love your flashcards, like all Orton Gillingham teachers do, this will fit perfectly into a deck of flashcards. They are in typeface, which is what we want because we want our students reading typed text. They print out, you cut them out, you can laminate them or just print them on cardstock and they're ready to go. Each set has 10 examples, 2 of each vowel, 2 A's, 2 E's, 2 I's, 2 O's, and 2 U's. And what you're going to do is you're just going to shuffle up your set of 10 examples and you're going to put one of them in front of your reader and you're going to say, sound this out. And at first, they may not be able to do that, or they may just know because our older readers often do. This is cat. They've seen that word 1,000 million times, so they know it. And then let's say they say, oh, I know that word, that's cat. You're going to say, that's great, that is cat. Let's practice sounding it out. You want them to say k, at, cat. Or alternatively, k, at, cat. You want to hear those sounds stretched out and somewhat separated before they say the whole word, especially if they already know the word, because that's giving them that anticipation power. Our lower readers need that repetition and they need that anticipation piece in order to build that process into their long-term memory. That's what you're doing here. So you're going to teach these examples, these exemplars, over and over and over again until you're at 90% independent accuracy in 3 out of 3 trials. It's probably going to take a couple weeks. Once you're done with set 1, try set 2. They are more challenging because the words are more conceptually complex for our lower readers. These are words they may not hear. Set is not a word that our lower readers hear when they're listening to speech. Get, got, easily confused. You're going to do the same exact program. You're going to cut out these 10 cards, Put one of them at a time on the desk in front of your student, and you're going to say, sound this out. And by now they've kind of got the routine. They're going to read fog, fog. And then the next card, run. You're going to get to 90% accuracy or above, independent and unprompted, 3 out of 3 trials, and then you're going to test for generalization. For a reader who's at this level, that could be the same words in a different font, the same words in a different font size, the same words in a different piece of paper or context, the same words in handwriting with a capital letter, or it could be some different words that look similar. Whatever you need your reader to read, you're going to test for generalization there. So what does that look like? You're going to have another card, have a piece of paper, have your assessment tool ready to go, and let's say they see this word. This isn't in the card pack here. This isn't one of my examples. They need to be able to sound out cup, unprompted, independently on the first try. That's how you know that they have been successful. When I run a multiple exemplar program like this, it's not unheard of to do a third set, to do it a third time and make your own set. Okay, what are the words I really need the student to read? And build another set of 10 to do it a third time. If you think about it, that's kind of what Heggerty does, is just endless streams of examples. So it's okay to do it again. You probably won't have to, but depending on your reader, you may have to do that. This program is called multiple exemplar training. What you're doing is you're using repetition to build a process into their long-term memory, and then you're adding new cards, you're adding new words to test and possibly to teach for generalization, which is what you want because reading is a generalized process.